today because there was some other commitments which I had to see. Anyway, good to see you back here. So if you can recall, yesterday we talked about academic leadership, governance, and management. Although owing to the paucity of time, I could not talk about all those things in great detail because all those things require even more deeper attention. But then that's not a problem. It's can be indicative in nature as well. I shared that link with you, the P-case link to test your communication styles. Have you been able to do that? Anyone who has been able to do that? No one? You didn't find time? Dr. Suchi? Dr. Ravi Ranjan? Could you find? And Dr. Bhattacharya?
Sir, actually, unfortunately, I lost that link. As the meeting ended, I forgot to copy that link.
Oh, I'm sorry for that. I should have sent that to your respective email IDs, in fact, through our center. Anyway, I'll be sharing that again today. So when I do that, you can copy. That's a very interesting assessment that helps you discover your communication style. Not a problem at all. Fine. So today I'll be taking you through the world of skill development. And of course, it's a very heavy, loaded term, not just a term, it's a loaded concept, skill development, because that's the reason why people have been talking about and developing skills, all of us. Yesterday, while talking about academic leadership, I also hinted at the importance of developing skills in us. If you can recall, I hinted at developing some communication skills, hinted at developing some problem solving, some decision-making skills. And I also hinted at developing some self-analytical skills. So when it comes to skills, so we all know it's very simple, common, everyday. There are two types of skills. One is the hard skill. That means our domain knowledge, our ability to apply the knowledge that we derive, that we acquire through our interaction with a particular discipline. And there is the other kind of skill that are not called hard skills. Can you please tell us what are those skills called? There is the hard skills and there are some other skills.
Soft skills.
Yes?
Soft skills.
Soft skills. Yeah, soft skills, of course, soft skills. Hard skills and soft skills. Apart from hard skills and soft skills, there are other skills as well. I'll be talking about those skills. Those are called life skills. There are a variety of skills, for example, employability skills. We need these skills to enhance our employability chances or employability quotient. There are employability skills, there are life skills, there are soft skills. So life skills and soft skills are a little different in their approach. Life skills are more inclusive, more expansive. They are broader, broad set of abilities with which will make everyday living meaningful and successful. So that's the reason why they are called life skills. When it comes to soft skills, we generally think of a set of abilities with which we can perform well in professional settings. So for professional settings, we also require a lot of life skills, but not all of them. But we certainly require a set of soft skills that are basically known as intrapersonal and interpersonal skills. So today I'll be talking about the soft skills and the life skills. I'll not be focusing on hard skills because those skills are acquired when each one of us, either we or the students or any user, interacts with a certain domain or a certain discipline. For example, you can name your disciplines, one or two of you. Dr. Neha, can you name your discipline? Yes, Dr. Neha, are you there? Dr. Neha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is your discipline?
Sir,
Which subject do you teach? Okay, fine. We have lost connection with Dr. Neha. Dr. Durbadal Bhattacharya?
Sir, language and literature.
Oh, that's great. Language and literature, fine. And where do you teach, Dr. Bhattacharya?
Sir, I am in LND College Motihari, a constituent unit of Bihar University, Muzaffarpur.
Okay, that's great. Fine. And Dr. Parikh, Dr. Vaibhavi Parikh, your discipline? Okay, anyway, so these are your domains, your specific disciplines, your specific domains. So when we interact with these domains, we acquire a certain skill set. So those actually become our hard skills. For example, somebody goes to pursue a certain program in mechanical engineering. So that person develops hard skills in mechanical engineering, or it is expected to be so. But irrespective, when it comes to soft skills or life skills, they are over and above these disciplines. They transcend the disciplines. And that's the reason why, irrespective of the disciplines that we are in touch with or we are grounded in, we require these skills so that we can make our knowledge, our understanding of something flow smoothly. So that's the reason why we need these skills. So let's start the discussion. Allow me a few seconds so that I can share my screen with you. And thereafter we'll start this session.
hello.
Yes.
Hello. Sir,
Yes, please unmute yourself, Dr. Neha. If you want to say something, please unmute yourself and speak. Okay, anyway. So is my screen visible to you? Please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, and then moving the slides. Are they moving?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. So I'll be talking about skill development. All right. So as we all understand, by skill development, we mean a set of skills that we require to make our lives meaningful and successful, either professionally or personally. We, whether it's about our personal lives or our professional lives, skills play a very, very important role because we cannot do well in our professional lives without a set of hard skills and soft skills. But when it comes to our personal lives, our relationships, we may not require those hard skills, but we require soft skills a lot or life skills a lot so that we can make our personal lives better. So skills play a very, very important role. And if you are familiar with the NEP 2020, you're probably aware that it emphasizes the development of skills in the young learners. It also emphasizes the need for the Indian society to migrate towards a skill-based education or curriculum, and it focuses on the need to develop skills, because for long the Indian academia has struggled with a challenge, the challenge of making students employable. You might have come across that whenever there is a survey, it ends by suggesting that Indian universities they produce a lot of unemployable graduates. Are you familiar with this such findings?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
the Indian universities, Indian universities produce a lot of unemployable graduates, and that's been a major concern. That's the reason why, despite producing a large number of graduates, we have not been able to produce a large number of employable graduates. So employability turns out to be a major concern. When it comes to employability, it's a combination of one's command over both the hard skills and the soft skills or life skills. So in the absence of either of these two or both, the employability chances of a person is severely affected or dented. And that's the reason why the NEP focuses or emphasizes the need to integrate skill-based education or skill-based curriculum, or to design skill-based curriculum. Whatever the skills you can deliver to the students, especially when it comes to skilling them up in terms of their hard skills and soft skills. At the core of it, what you find is one thing, that is the desire to learn. So I generally refer to this particular thing as I'm writing that in the chat box. Sometimes there may be some typographical errors. Please ignore. So it is called the willingness quotient. There are several quotients. You might have come across IQ, EQ. Are you familiar with these things? SQ. Are you familiar with these things? IQ, EQ, SQ.
Yes, sir.
Right. So IQ, intelligence quotient. EQ, emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. SQ is spiritual intelligence or spiritual quotient. So these days people are looking for prospective employees who have a good amount of spiritual quotient, spiritual intelligence. But above all these quotients, all these forms of intelligence, there is this willingness quotient, because without willingness, it will not happen. So what is your take on that? Do you think willingness is very, very important, or we can still do without it? So I would like to take your stand on this willingness. Do you think willingness is very, very important, or we can still do without it?
Yes, so willingness is really very important because it creates a very assertive approach in learning.
Right, right. Yes, it's important, because if I'm not willing, irrespective of what a brilliant mentor you are, nothing meaningful will ever happen. Okay, if I'm not willing, if I'm pretending to be sleeping, nobody can ever wake me up. If I close the door on my face and do not allow anybody else to enter, nobody can enter. So at the core, at the bottom of it, we find willingness. Willingness happens to be one of the most important things. And that's the reason why, despite having access to the entire world through the smartphones, our students do not show a great learning mobility or upward mobility in terms of learning. Because there is no willingness, they do not want to learn. You ask me, so we teach at IITs, so even at IITs, this is a major problem. Students do not show that kind of interest. The only thing they are interested in getting a good package without learning much or without developing that learning ability in themselves, or that without showing the willingness to learn. This is everywhere. Somewhere it's more, somewhere it's a little less, but it's everywhere. And that's a major problem. So this willingness quotient is something that can be taken care of when it comes to developing skills. So this is one aspect of it that I'll be talking about. I'll also be hinting at various skills, especially in terms of life skills and soft skills. I won't be talking about hard skills. It is difficult. It is hard to talk about hard skills with such homogeneous group, so diverse population. So let's take a look at some basics. What exactly do we mean by skill-based learning? So of course, it's a novel approach to education, which emphasizes, one, developing practical skills and competences, so that apply to real world situations rather than just acquiring knowledge. For example, you meet a mechanical engineering graduate and you tell the person that there's some problem with my scooty, can you please fix it? There's a great chance that the mechanical engineering graduate will not be able to fix it. However, on the other hand, if you take it to a local guy, a mechanic, who has never studied any mechanical engineering, that guy, there's a great chance that that guy will fix it, right? So now you can understand the gap that lies between somebody who, despite not acquiring a degree or knowledge, knows how to fix it. And on the other hand, here is a person who has the knowledge, who has received or acquired a degree, but doesn't know how to fix it. That means the difference lies in practical skills and competences, the applicability of the knowledge that we acquire through our educational programs. There is a huge gap, and this skill-based learning can always address that gap. It can fill that gap. Once it is filled, now people will always go for developing competencies and practical skills which they can apply to real world situations or real world problems. So this is the emphasis of the NEP 2020, so that people can derive more and more practical skills and competences, so that they can apply those skills and competences to solve real world problems or real world challenges. So the UGC has already made some serious attempts at revamping the curriculum, and it has issued circulars to higher education institution, HEIs, to offer enhanced employability and holistic growth through life skills. So now the UGC, this is a news item that appeared. You can see the date mentioned here. It is mentioned here. You can see the date. Yeah. So 28 January 2024, this article appeared in the Times of India. So UGC revamped the curriculum, and it encourages HEIs to offer enhanced employability and holistic growth through life skills. So UGC also has made it almost mandatory for HEIs to integrate life skills competences in students in order to enhance their employability and holistic growth. So it's very, very clear to all of us that we have a very clearly defined goal in front of us, and this goal has been divided into achievable objectives. And these objectives are also very, very clear to us that we need to do something to improve the life skills and soft skills of these students. So the learners, especially in HEIs. So with that in mind, I talked about it, if you remember. Do you remember? I talked about it yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I'll not be talking about it anymore. I just wanted you to take another look at it for the sake of a recapitulation so that you understand what I meant when I showed you this. This is a skill. So in this particular activity, two skills are involved. Initially, the first one is the search skill. That means if I'm a researcher, I must first be aware, or I must first develop some search skills in me. In engineering, anyone with a background in engineering? Is anyone who has a background in engineering? Okay. In the world of engineering, these are the two most important things happening today. I'm not talking about AI or generative AI or experimental, open AI. So I'm not talking about that LLMs. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about two very important things that have been happening in the world of engineering for quite some time now. The first one is, I'm writing in the chat box. The first one is prompt engineering. And the second is predictive analysis. Prompt engineering is a very important form of, it's a very important approach, engineering approach. What do people do? Sometimes you might have noticed, you write something in the Google search engine and you do not derive the right kind of results. On the other hand, you see one of your colleagues always finds the right kind of results. Have you ever noticed anything like this? Anyone would like to share?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, Dr. Ravi?
Sir?
Yeah, are you saying something?
अभी जो आप शेयर कर रहे थे, जो बात कर रहे थे, ऐसा कई बार एक्सपीरियंस में आया है जब हम लोग कोई टॉपिक से रिलेटेड कोई चीज सर्च कर रहे हैं, तो कई बार होता है कि बहुत सारी जानकारी इकट्ठा आ जाती है, उसमें चुनना मुश्किल हो जाता है. लेकिन कुछ ऐसे लोगों को भी मैं जानता हूँ जो एकदम से एग्जैक्ट क्या उनको चाहिए वही सर्च होकर के आता है.
True. Very true. The difference lies in prompt engineering. This is called prompt engineering. The kind of prompts that we give to these machines will determine the nature of the result and the efficacy of the result. Prompt engineering. So, for example, I would like to explore or search a certain set of material related to my research field or my research area. So if I use the right kind of prompts, so there is always a chance that I'll get the right kind of results. If the prompts are not good, the results will be diluted. They will not be good as well. So it's very important. So sometimes, we need to develop these skills in our, not just sometimes, and we need to develop these skills in our students, in our research scholars as well, because it's going to help them a lot. And that's exactly what I meant when I showed you this thesis generator. There's something somewhere, and it's my job to find it. And once I find it, it can make my task of creating a thesis statement easier. And that's the reason why I showed you this. Now, the second is, are you aware of this? Look at this image. The hourglass model of research, very popularly called the hourglass model of research. Because since we are talking about certain life skills and certain competencies, practical skills, since we all are researchers, since we have researchers working around us, since learning involves some kind of research, it's imperative that we build some research skills in us. So are you aware of this, the hourglass model of research? Some of you might have started searching for it in Google or through ChatGPT. Okay. So fine, if you have found any reply or response, I'm sorry. So can you mention that? Okay. The hourglass model of research, irrespective of the disciplines you profess or you hail from, there is an hourglass model of research that is treated as the universal research structure, irrespective of the disciplines you come from, you hail from, irrespective of the disciplines you practice. Whenever you conduct research, there is a fixed approach to it. And this hourglass model of research talks about it. I'll show you. Take a look at it. So you can see the hourglass. Can you see the hourglass? This is the hourglass. It resembles an hourglass. Fine. So it's very popularly called the hourglass model of research. Whether it's a research paper, research essay, research report, or a full-fledged research thesis or dissertation. So all these research documents have a universal structure. Is this visible to you? Please confirm.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah, yes, right. So they all have this structure, and this structure is universal. It's not that I am a student of English, or I'm a scholar of English, I'm a scholar of biology, I'm a scholar of sociology, I'm a scholar of engineering. So we'll have different research structures. No, it is universal. It applies to all research disciplines, all fields of research. So let's start with this. Let's take a look at this, the top. So of course, we'll go for a title of a document, the research document, and we can append an abstract. Fine. Then we come to introduction. This is the first one. So this is called I. And then the introduction is further narrowed down to include these things. The first important thing in the introduction is to establish the field establishment. We have to mention why this area is important, why this field is important. I cannot say that nanotechnology is not very important, is not very relevant, but I'm still searching, exploring this area, researching this field. So it will be a self-defeatist approach. And then we review relevant literature, this 2, and then we go to 3, that is identify a research gap, a research space, and then we'll mention the research aim and how we are going to fill the gap, right? The research questions, the research objectives, and various other things. Then we come to this particular segment. You can see this is the narrowest part of the hourglass. And this area that is highlighted in yellow is our original contribution. This is the original part of our research, because this is the part that precedes this is not the original part of our research. This is not the original part. We are actually, taking another look at the existing body of knowledge. So this is the original part of our research. It's very, very specific. And once we have the results, you can see methods and then results, right? So let's add it to this particular thing, M, and then we have R. Okay, and then you'll finally find D. So where is the D? You can find it here. This is the D. So you have I, M, R, D. So this method is very popularly called the IMRD method. Okay. So sometimes people write it in this manner, IMR, small a and D. So I'm writing about it in the chat box. So this method is called, this is the approach. Okay. And then once you have the results, you go to this discussion segment. In the discussion segment, you again relate your findings to the existing body of knowledge, and then try to show the implications, the broader implications, the significance, the future recommendations or recommendations for future research. This is very general again. So from general, we move to the particular, specific, and then we again come back to the general. Then you have conclusion and references. Sometimes we include conclusion in the discussion segment as well. So this is the universal structure of all research. Research papers, research essays, research articles, research reports, any research for that matter. So this is a universal framework. So for a researcher, acquiring this particular skill is very, very important, because once I have a blueprint of my research, once I get to see the X-ray report of my research, it'll become very easy for me. So that's the reason why it is so important. Okay. So any queries or questions related to this particular thing? I'll be happy to take them. And this applies to all research. Remember, irrespective of the disciplines you profess or you practice, whether it is literature, whether it is history, sociology, psychology, biology, or mathematics, or engineering, or medical sciences. It is common, it is universal. Any questions or queries related to this particular segment? Please let me know.
No, sir.
No? Is it clear?
Pretty clear.
Okay, thank you. So that's the reason why we need to pass on this skill. This is a transferable skill. Okay. And this can be passed on quite easily. There are a lot of skills that are transferable skills that can be passed on quite easily. And there are a lot of other skills that are not transferable, so it's difficult for us to pass them. So what people do, they cannot pass on those skills. So they create models and frameworks, then they pass on those skills. Okay. Formula, then they pass on those skills. I'm sorry. So what I mean to say is, developing skills and competencies is very, very important. And that's the reason why we have to adopt a skill-based mindset, or develop a skill-based mindset, and adopt a skill-based strategy or approach to teaching, learning, research, and extension. And this is exactly where academic leadership will excel. It will be different from the other. Yes, I'm reminded of your input, Dr. Bhattacharya. Yesterday you talked about it, so that was a very interesting question. You said how it is different from the other forms of leadership. Now this is where academic leadership is different. The kind of mentoring, the kind of abilities or skills or competences that we can develop through research or research engagements, the kind of commitments the academics show towards research and innovation, we generally don't find it in the other forms of leadership. So that's the reason why academic leadership is different in this particular way. So the next one is this. Are you aware of this? Please, quickly, one or two responses.
No, sir.
No, you're not aware of this. So as you can read, it's called a phrase book for writing papers and research in English. Okay. So phrase book for writing papers and research in English. So it's important because when we decide to write our research papers or theses or dissertations in English, we need to develop a certain English language competency or English language skills. We need to be good at English language skills. Of course, people say there is Grammarly that will help us. Of course, Grammarly is there to help us, but only when we have produced something, we have written something. Grammarly will not write for us. Grammarly will help us when we have written something. And if there are certain technical or grammatical errors, Grammarly will help us correct or overcome those errors. But it will not write for us. Now, people argue, of course, there are open AI platforms. There is ChatGPT, there are Jenny, and there's Gemini. So they will write for us. What is the problem? We just give them one prompt, one command, and then they'll write for us. Of course, they will write for you. But then these days, there is a disclaimer that shows that ChatGPT is experimental. Generative AI is experimental. Therefore, please check the facts. Okay. So through several studies, it has been established, it has been found that ChatGPT actually produces, the content that ChatGPT produces, 50% of the content is fake. It is cooked up. It is non-existent. All right. And there are studies that have also established that ChatGPT hallucinates 20% of times. Hallucinates means it thinks it is there, but it is not actually there. It hallucinates and presents the result of its hallucination as content to the users. And when users begin to consume them uncritically, they're actually consuming fake content, fake knowledge. That's the reason why there is always a disclaimer these days. I'll tell you that. My screen is visible to you. I'll show you. For example, I'll write something. Okay. Say soft skills. Then you go and search. On top of it, you can find this, right? Can you see this? This Gemini? Right? Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it has given you some results. The only difference is that it has also shown you the links. If you click here, it will show the link on the right. Okay. So from where it has derived this particular source. Okay. But then at the bottom of it, you'll read something. Generative AI is experiment. So when something is experimental, it cannot be the final thing. It is still experimenting. It is experimental in nature. Okay, so this is generative AI is experimental. Now let me go to ChatGPT. Okay, and then fine. I'll write the same thing. Okay, I'll write the same thing here. Fine. Say fine, leadership. So it will show me a few things. Okay. And then at the bottom of it, you find something. Can you see this one? Can you see this one? Yes.
Yes.
So ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. Right? So you are requested to check important info because ChatGPT can make mistakes. So if I say that I'll give a prompt to ChatGPT and it will create content for me, fine, it will create content for me, but I cannot guarantee whether the content is correct, verified, authentic or not, or research-based. So the kind of evidence it provides, it's not research-based because it hallucinates on 20% occasions and it gives fake content on 50% occasions. So imagine. So therefore, it is important that we build that ability in ourselves without depending on these programs too much. We need to build that ability in ourselves so that we can check, we can verify. How do I verify? For example, you are a student, your student has written something, and the student comes to you and requests you to verify the document or correct or evaluate the document. Why do you think your student comes to you? Yes. Why do you think your student comes to you? Yes, any response? You can unmute. Why do you think your student comes to you?
Rather than you can say to learn a thing, they come to us to find a different perspective from what they already know or think.
Fine. So, I mean, to verify their own perspectives. True. Any other response? Any other response? Okay, I'll tell you, apart from that, there is another reason why they come to us. The reason is they think we have that ability to verify that document, to verify the authenticity, the quality of that document, the write-up. That's the reason why they come to us. If they think that this person knows less than us, they'll never come to us. Or if they think that this person cannot help us because this person cannot evaluate it properly, they'll never come to us. They come to us because they think we have that ability. So that's the thing. Since we have that ability, they come to us. So what we have to do is to develop that ability, that skill in them, so that they can verify things on their own. And, they can assure the quality, the validity, and the authenticity of something that they find through the generative AI platforms. Okay, so that is important. So what I mean to say is, English for writing research papers, useful phrases. So these are some of the things that we can actually access. These are available for free. We are not charged anything to get access to such material. In fact, when there's material or such material, we interact with such material, our skills, our competencies in English language will gradually become better. So that's the reason why it is important. So if we have to sum it up, the initial things that I talked about, the preliminary things that I talked about, so we can use a statement issued by Charles Darwin. It says it is not the strongest of the species that survives. Most often people think survival of the fittest or the strongest, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change. So it's not about strength. It is not about intelligence. It is about adaptability. How adaptive we are, how flexible, adaptive, open we are to change around us. So if we can be adaptive or adaptable, we can survive. Those who are very, very strong but not adaptive, those who are very, very intelligent but not adaptive, they will not survive the challenge of time. Imagine you learned something 5 years back. Can you spend your whole life with that particular piece of learning, a piece of knowledge? You cannot, because with time, we evolve biologically or physiologically. We also evolve psychologically. If everything evolves around us, then why shouldn't our knowledge evolve? Because because knowledge evolves. And if we are not updated, we'll stay far behind. There's something that that I would like to talk about is this. You all use smartphones. Please let me know. All of you use smartphones? A few responses will help.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is there anyone who doesn't use a smartphone? Okay, so I can understand most of you. There may be one or two exceptions who do not use smartphones. Why is it called a smartphone? Okay, it makes our work simple. Fine. Any other response?
Because a smartphone can process the information and the behavioral patterns in a much more intelligent way. It has its own method.
Okay, fine. And then it keeps us smart and updated. Fine. Does it keep us smart and updated? No. Any other response? You can write one or more. Two, multitasking. Good. Anything else? All things in one place, like banking documents, social banking documents, social media. Fine. Okay, the smartphone is called smartphone because it is smart. How does it become smart? What made it smart? All right. Fine, of course. It is smart because it can perform a lot of tasks simultaneously, and it can perform those tasks with ease and with a great competency, right? Competency, it has a certain skill set. You give the smartphone any task, it will perform it well because it has a certain skill set. It has been given a certain skill set, a competency. Therefore, it is a smartphone. But then there's something very interesting that happens to the smartphone. All right, so this is called, does your smartphone update, or do you allow the smartphone to be updated regularly? Okay.
Yes.
Imagine you switch off or disable that automatic update or regular update function in a smartphone. What might happen? What might happen? If you disable the update function and you do not update the smartphone for 6 months, 1 year, what may happen?
It will slow down.
Of course, it will not function so well as it used to be. Okay, the way it functioned, it will not be able to function like that. And it will develop certain technical problems as well. The message that we derive from this particular experience, the smartphone experience, or the smartphone engagement, is that update is the key. If the smartphone gets updated frequently, almost every second, third day, it gets, sometimes every day, periodically, if it gets updated so that it can function smartly, it can become smarter, then why can't we update ourselves to make ourselves smarter? Now, what is unfortunate is the smartphone is getting smarter every day, and we are not getting smarter, becoming smarter than us. Ideally, it should have been the other way around. We should become smarter even than the smartphone. But we do not update. And this is exactly because we do not adapt changes, we do not adapt to the needs, the requirements. This is exactly what Darwin meant when he said that the strongest, the intelligent are not the ones who will survive. The adaptive or the adaptable will survive. Since the smartphone adapts, it survives. Since we do not adapt, it becomes difficult. So every now and then there is a debate over whether teachers will remain useful, relevant in the next 5 years. When generative AI reaches its peak performance, will teachers be relevant? Will teachers be useful? So we struggle with such debates because we do not, update ourselves. So skilling, skilling is all about updating oneself. That's exactly what we need. There is another thing. Have you heard about this man, Alvin Toffler? Any response? Alvin Toffler?
No.
Okay. Alvin Toffler is a very famous American futurist, writer, author, and futurist. Just read the statement. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we are talking about developing skills or building skills, enhancing skills and capacity, competences in the learners, in ourselves, in the learners as well. So how will this happen? I just talked about by updating oneself. This is exactly what I talked about while talking about academic leadership yesterday, because self-assessment will lead to self-discovery, and self-discovery will lead to self-management, and that will lead to self-leadership. So leading oneself. So by updating ourselves, we can do this. This is the one. And the second is, Toffler very rightly says that the illiterates of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Learning is not enough. There are two important stages that follow learning. Unlearning in quick time and relearning in quicker time. So unlearning and relearning must follow the learning process. I'll be talking about it. And those who cannot do it will be treated as the illiterates of the 21st century because they will fall far behind than others. Others will move on. So let's take a look at this. So learn and unlearn. I'll give you a puzzle. I'll give you a block set. You create a certain structure using the puzzle or the block set. So you learned it. And then you unlearn it. You dismantle it so that you can create a new structure. Until and unless it is dismantled, a new structure can never be created. So learning leads to unlearning so that something can be learned again, that is relearning. It can be learned in a new way, in a novel manner. So it's important. So let's take a look at this. If we have to develop skills in ourselves and in the learners, the students, in HEIs, it is important that we drive them towards an unlearning mindset. Right now, they do not have that unlearning mindset. They have a learning mindset. Okay, fine, you're teaching me something, I'll learn. But I'll not unlearn it. They do not know what unlearning is all about and how it can be done. So we have to help them build an unlearning mindset. Fine? So very simple descriptions of unlearning. So the hard-earned knowledge that we have acquired through learning processes, they actually fill this mind. Until and unless we make room for fresh knowledge or new knowledge, it will not happen. Because we think we know. Until and unless we make unknowing happen, it will not make space for itself. I'll give you an example of that. You might have come across something like, do you use Gmail? Gmail? You use Gmail? So Frankie B, you have raised your hand. Do you have a query or a question? No. A lot of people use Gmail or any email service for that matter. So do you pay for it? No. All right. So how much space do you get as part of your Google account? Not just Gmail, across all Google services. Now they call it Google One. Okay. So Google One services, 15 GB. Fine. Great. So when the 15 GB is exhausted, do you receive any messages from Google One? And if yes, what is that message? There are two messages. I mean, one message that has two parts. First is, so buy more storage or clear the storage or clean the storage. Okay. So how do you, get more storage? There are two ways, either buy more storage or clean the storage. Even if you buy more storage, it will also happen that after some time, that storage will also be exhausted. You'll receive the same message. Fine. So either ways, when you buy more storage or you clean the existing storage to retain only those important files and remove those files that you think are no longer relevant or important. Am I right? If you decide to clean up the storage, we generally do so by retaining the important files and by removing or deleting those files that we think are no longer relevant or important. Fine. This is exactly what we need to do with the mindset. This mindset also gets exhausted. This is exactly what we mean by developing an unlearning mindset. This mindset gets exhausted. Until and unless we make space for new, fresh knowledge, so it will continue to be an outdated system. And we all know when we do not get updates, this system will malfunction. It will not function properly. So that's exactly what we mean by. So unlearning generally challenges the unlearning mindset. So I develop the courage to challenge the previously held conceptions and biases so that I can build a growth mindset and bring about some positive changes in our lives. Growth mindset. You might have heard about the geocentric system. Are you familiar with the geocentric system? Geocentrism. Geocentrism. Are you familiar with that? And who challenged it? Are you aware of it? Geocentrism, and who challenged it? No one? Anyone with a background in science? Okay. Geocentrism.
I think it is Earth-centric approach. I mean, where Earth is at the center and it is considered to be the most important unit of the universe. So maybe that is the approach.
Yeah, right. You're right, Dr. Bhattacharya. So geocentrism asserted that the Earth is at the center, the sun and other planets are revolving around it. Okay. So that is it. And Who challenged it, the geocentrism, by proposing a solar-centric system? Okay, you can recall? Galileo and his guru?
Copernicus.
Yes, exactly. Copernicus and Galileo. And we know what happened to them. They were prosecuted. Okay, that's a different thing. But this geocentrism lasted for a long, long time. And people continued to believe that the Earth is at the center of this universe. The sun and other planets are revolving around it. So it was Copernicus who first challenged this notion, this understanding, by proposing a solar-centric system. And this particular, idea was refined and it was carried further by Galileo. Okay. So he said, no, it's not a geocentric system, it's a solar-centric system. The Earth and other planets are revolving around the sun. So that is it. So what do you find here? You find some growth mindset. You find an unlearning mindset. Had that unlearning mindset not been possible in the case of Copernicus and Galileo, people would have continued to believe that this is a geocentric system. This is just one instance. You look at all scientific, maybe tomorrow somebody proves that this is still not a solar-centric system. This is a very different system. But it has to be established scientifically. Scientific evidence is important because of this, right? So this mindset, the unlearning mindset that I'm talking about, can be possible only when we challenge the previously held conceptions and biases, right? There was a time until the Victorian society in the West, England especially, where people believed that we are the descendants of Adam and Eve. They always looked at the biblical origins of human existence. But then during that period, it was Charles Darwin and other scientists like Huxley, Thomas Huxley, and others. They challenged this particular mindset, this particular understanding. They challenged, no, we are here because of an evolutionary process, not because of this biblical, reality. So that is it. So thereafter, the world started to talk about evolution. The evolutionary biology came into existence through Charles Darwin and Thomas Huxley. So this is how we can challenge. So when we conduct research, we always identify the research gap, and then we can challenge. No, the previous work has only partially addressed this problem. One has wrongly addressed this problem. We can refute previous research. Okay. Has created some misunderstanding over this particular issue. We can always challenge. So whenever we challenge, that leads to an unlearning mindset. All research is the result of this unlearning mindset. Until and unless you find a research gap, can you further any research? Can you conduct any research? What is your take? Can there be any research without a research gap? So you can post in the chat box, yes or no. So this is the result of an unlearning mindset. It's not that a great researcher 5 years ago said something and that can never be challenged. That can be challenged. That can be challenged only when I have an unlearning mindset. I develop an unlearning mindset. And that's the reason why I'm talking about this unlearning mindset as an important skill set, right? And then what is the benefit of developing an unlearning mindset? So when our current knowledge needs to be updated to have improved personal experiences, it can always be imperative. this unlearning mindset, that it will help us update our current knowledge. This is exactly what I meant when I gave you the example of the mobile, the smartphone, and how it gets regular updates. All right. So the current knowledge can be updated for improved personal experiences. So if our personal experiences are improving, that means our current knowledge over something is gradually becoming better. So that's the thing. So quickly, what are the different types of unlearning? There is a cognitive unlearning, which is a very important kind of unlearning. Cognitive unlearning, that means we have a certain set of attitudes, mindsets, understandings, beliefs. They are stored in this mind. They all are stored. Now imagine if those attitudes do not change, there cannot be any unlearning. So cognitive unlearning is all about how we understand, make sense of certain things in a certain manner, in a specific manner. We need to tweak that. We need to modify, revise it, so that our understanding of things becomes better. Procedural unlearning, how we do things now, right? For example, I'll give you an example of that. Procedural unlearning. If you have to prepare a good presentation, you'll require at least half a day to prepare a good presentation. Half a day, at least half a day. But then through generative AI, in 1 hour maximum, you can prepare a better presentation. Fine. So now you see a difference in the procedure. When you go to a hospital, you go to a doctor or a clinic, the way they used to treat patients is or was different than the way they treat patients today. There has been a procedural difference, and there has been a procedural unlearning. Okay, the way data was kept in the past was completely different than how it is kept now. Fine, but that is it. So this is the biggest difference, procedural unlearning. All these things could happen because of procedural unlearning. And social unlearning, that gets updated from time to time, our understanding of society, people around us. The social unlearning also happens. And finally, technology unlearning. The kind of technology that we used a few years back may not be the kind of technology that we use today. We use different technology, or we use technology differently. So the technology unlearning is also very, very important. Now we do not need a certain type of technology to do a certain type of thing. So there are various types of unlearning. That is why is unlearning important? First, it makes space for adaptability. We can adapt to new things. That means we can bring in new things until and unless we clear some of the clutter that have settled in our minds, we cannot make space for new things. So it makes space for adaptability. We can adapt. It generates new thinking. The way I thought about a certain thing is certainly not the way I think about it today. It enhances creativity because I make room for new things, new experiences, and new experimentations. And of course, it also improves relationships. When it comes to relationships, unlearning also improves. For example, you might have formed a certain kind of opinion about a certain person. For a long, long time, you held that opinion, and you suddenly discover that no, that person is not like that. That person is a very thorough gentleman, or that person is a good person. But for a long time, you formed an opinion about the person that this person is the nastiest, the dirtiest person I have ever come across. Okay. So now you may see a different person in front of you. So it will change your mindset. So it's important. And now we can improve relationships. And then if you watch Hindi films, do you watch Hindi films? Or Indian films as such, Indian cinema? For long, Indian cinema projected something very interesting. Every time the hero and the heroine would fall in love, they would first have a fight, and then that will lead to falling in love. So that was it. So in the fight, they go back with an impression that each of them are bad people. And then something happens, they discover each other better. So unlearning. So in order to accept that this person is not bad, I need to unlearn my previously held opinion about the person. I have to erase. No, this person is not a bad person. Okay. So that once I erase, then I can rewrite. No, this person is a good person. So my understanding of the person changes. So that is the power of unlearning. Therefore, it is important. So let's take a look at some 21st century skills. Okay. And before I can talk about those 21st century skills, I'd like to take your inputs. Okay. What do you think are some 21st century skills that we can build in ourselves? We can also, help our students build those skills. Can you name a few 21st century skills? Quickly, you can write in the chat box as well. Empathy, fine. Technological competency, of course. Problem solving, right? Yes, flexibility, adaptability. You cannot be adaptive without flexibility. They're very closely linked. Active listening skills, fine. All right. So, and critical thinking, of course, problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking, right? All right. So we'll be discussing certain 21st century skills, but right now we'll go on a break. But this break will be a short one. This is 2:43, so we'll treat it as 2:45, and we'll come back at 2:55. Is that fine with you? We'll go on a 10-minute break. Fine. So you may not leave this, just be there. You may not leave the platform. I'm not leaving the platform either. So I'll switch off my video and audio for now. So we'll meet at 2:55. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm back. Are you also back?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. Shall we resume? Okay, thank you. So before we went on this short break, I talked about 21st century skills. Okay, so you mentioned some of those important skills that that we all need to develop or build in ourselves. Okay, flexibility, adaptability, problem solving, critical thinking, some of the most important skills. So they may not be necessarily 21st century skills only. They are the skills that can help us live well in the 21st century as well. They're very important skills. So we'll take a look at some of these skills, all right? So you can see how these important skills have been plotted here. So you can see flexibility, you can see accountability, cooperation, leadership, financial literacy, self-direction, civic literacy, adaptability, productivity, environmental literacy, information literacy, creativity, health literacy. So a lot of literacy skills, and that's the reason why, you know, Alvin Toffler has very rightly suggested that the illiterates of the 21st century will be those people who do not, you know, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So in order to build a robust literacy skill or skill set, including, you know, health literacy, civic literacy, financial literacy, technological literacy, or information literacy, it's very important that we keep this mind as flexible, as adaptive as it can be. Only that will help us build and improve these skills. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us. Okay, apart from those literacy skills, you have the other skills like flexibility and then critical thinking, and then various other skills as well. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the skills. These are the top 10 life skills, or the 10 life skills, because WHO has not recommended an 11th life skill. It has recommended 10 life skills. They're recommended by WHO. WHO, you know, World Health Organization. So you can see problem solving, decision making, creative thinking, critical thinking, self-awareness, empathy, interpersonal relationships, good communication, management of stress or stress management, and management of emotion or emotional regulation or emotion management. So these are the most important life skills that we require if we have to, you know, succeed, or if we have to ensure our well-being in the 21st century. Otherwise, we'll be facing a lot of challenges if we are not good at these life skills. So whenever we think of skill-based education, skill-based curriculum, skill-based employment, skill-based relationships, it's very important that we attach top priority to these skills, especially these life skills. Okay, so I'll be talking about some of these skills because it's not possible to talk about all these skills in just one session. Okay, so in fact, sometime back, to be precise, almost 2 years back, I developed a MOOC on essential life skills. I developed this MOOC for Commonwealth of Learning Canada, and they took this MOOC, they offered this MOOC to participants from 42 countries Essential Life Skills MOOC. So, and they are currently thinking about offering it again to participants from all Commonwealth countries, in fact. So that is it, Essential Life Skills, all right? So, do you know what a MOOC is? MOOC?
Yes, sir. Massive open online courses.
Okay, so why is it called a massive open online course?
Sir, I don't have any idea.
Right.
Because, it cover a broad area, a broader range.
Right. So fine. Beyond that initial inquisitiveness, curiosity, you could have explored further, isn't it? But fine, you can do it. Do it now, not a problem. So for all others on board, this is exactly what I meant by, building this updating system, so that we become smarter than the smartphone. So this is the biggest thing that we learn from that we can learn from the smartphone, because it gets regular updates. So also we can. Right. Anyway, not a problem. So it is called massive open online courses. Okay. Massive means it can reach a large number of people, the masses. Okay. A huge number of people. So there is no limit to how many people can join such a course. If I open this course, say if 1 lakh people come and join, I don't have any problem. 2 lakhs may join, 5 lakhs may join. Okay. Massive. Okay. Huge in terms of number, huge in terms of its reach. Okay. And the second is open. It is open to all. It doesn't have any prerequisites. Sometimes it may have certain prerequisites, but such courses do not have any prerequisites. Open. Open means anyone can join. For example, somebody aging 18 and somebody aging 75 can join. It's not restricted to. There's no gender difference, and there is no class difference, there is no caste difference, there is no religion difference or faith difference. Anyone can join. It's open to everyone. And then online. How is it delivered? It is delivered online. That's the platform. And then last is course. So massive open online courses, MOOCs, right? So you can take MOOCs from very reputed universities and institutions worldwide, and you can add to your profile. You can also add new knowledge, new information to your profile as well, the mental profile, the knowledge profile. So that will help you greatly. Fine. So I talked about these things: the problem solving, decision making, thinking skills like creative and critical thinking. Self-awareness is something that I talked about yesterday. If you remember, how we can improve self-awareness by or through self-assessment or self-analysis, self-discovery, self-management, and self-leadership. So this is how self-awareness, once we build self-awareness, it will lead us to self-leadership. And once we know how to lead ourselves, we can lead others as well, because we'll develop that skill in us. And then, of course, interpersonal relationship and empathy are very closely associated. Without an empathetic approach, I cannot even think of building good, sustainable, long-term interpersonal relationships. And good communication, interpersonal relationship, empathy, good communication, they form a triangle together, because we need good communication to build interpersonal relationship as well. And then management of emotion and management of stress. It's very, very important that we manage our stress well, so that we do not experience burnout, fatigue, and we continuously get our energy replenished. So it's important that we take care of stress and emotions. Emotions play a very, very important role. But then all these things will happen only when we build self-awareness. I do not exactly understand why self-awareness is put at number 5 by WHO. It should be put at number 1, right? Self-awareness. Everything else follows self-awareness. Okay, for example, how well do I know my emotions, right? We all have emotions. Or is there anyone who doesn't have emotions? You can write in the chat box quickly your responses. If you have emotions, you can write yes. If you do not have, you can write no. Yes, quickly. Yes, 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 all yes. Okay. Is there anyone who doesn't have emotions? We all have emotions. So how many basic human emotions we have? What are the basic human emotions? How many basic emotions we have? You can give a number in the chat box. 3, 4, 5, 8, 10.
6 basic emotions we have, sir.
Yes? How many emotions?
6 basic emotions everyone have.
Yes, six basic emotions. These 6 emotions were identified by Paul Ekman, a psychologist. Happiness, anger, disgust, fear, surprise, and where is the 6th? And sadness. Fine, right. So, and then after some further research, experts have identified 4 basic human emotions. They have dropped fear and not fear, I'm sorry, disgust and surprise from this list. Now we are left with just 4 basic emotions: happiness, anger, fear, and sadness. So these are the 4 basic emotions. So emotional understanding, emotional awareness will lead to greater emotional regulation or emotion management, right? So fine, let's take a look at these things, the skills. All right. So what we have to do is to understand that we are living in a skill age. This is the skill age in which we are living. Okay. This is a skill age. And in order to survive well in the skill age, we need this skill edge. Skill edge here means skill advantage, right? It all starts with this particular thing, self-awareness. And this is the reason why I said self-awareness should come at the beginning, right? Should come first. So one's emotions and values, one's strengths, challenges, weaknesses, beliefs, motivations, attitudes, all these things, mindset, all these things together make the person I am. So I need to understand what are those things that make the person I am. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? What are my challenges? What are my values, my beliefs, my emotions, my attitudes, my motivations, my skills? What are my skills, including my communication styles or communication skills? The most important thing is to recognize all these things. Once I know, once I'm mindful of all these things, I'll be in a better position, because that will lead to greater self-awareness. Greater self-awareness leads to greater self-management. For example, if I know that whenever I come across dishonest people, I become very angry. Because I'm aware of it, I'll try to avoid coming across dishonest people, one possibility. The other possibility can be, even if I come across dishonest people, I'll tell it myself, I tell it to myself that these are dishonest people and it will trigger my anger. So I must do something to keep it down because I'm aware of it. Fine. So this happens when you go to a hospital. When you start from home, if you tell or train your mind, your brain, that it may take 2 hours, your brain will respond accordingly. If you tell your brain, oh, it will take, I have an appointment, it will take just 30 minutes. Then the moment you reach there, and if it doesn't happen in 30 minutes, it will lead to some frustration, some anger, some outrage. Because you have already told your brain that it will take not more than 30 minutes. If it takes 30 minutes or less than that, you'll be happy. But if it takes more than that, you'll be either sad or angry. Because the brain has been trained in that manner. So this is called brain hacking. So in positive psychology, we call it brain hacking. We have to hack the brain. So if you tell the brain that it will take 2 hours, fine. This is something that you might have come across. This is a very important strategy that e-commerce people use. This strategy, so that customers do not lose their patience, they are not frustrated, and they are not angry. Okay, most often you might have noticed, whenever you place an order using an e-commerce platform like Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, and various other things, Tata Click, or any other e-commerce platform, whenever you place an order, most often it happens so that they'll take more time. They'll always quote more time. If you place an order today, they may deliver it in 2 days, but they'll generally mention 4 days from the date of the order. Because they know in case something happens and it takes more time, at least we have some buffer time, some reserve time in hand, and the customer will not lose patience. We can always tell the customer, sir, we mentioned 4 days. So within 4 days we'll deliver, don't worry. But if they deliver the product well before 2 days, that makes us happier. And we don't mind giving 5-star to the delivery experience or for the delivery experience. This is what the e-commerce platform people generally use. On the other hand, when you go to your local tailor, you give some clothes to the tailor for a dress, and most often it happens that the local tailor skips the deadline. Okay, they never meet the deadline. You go to the tailor on the deadline, and the tailor says, now this happened, that happened, because of which it will take 2 more days. Please come back after 2 more days. You go again after 2 more days. And then the tailor says something, no, it will take 2 more days. You go again, and then you lose your patience, you have a fight. You end up fighting with the tailor. This is how the emotions are dysregulated. So these e-commerce platforms regulate our emotions very, very well through these strategies. So it's important. This is called brain hacking. We need to tell our brain. So we prepare our brain for something, our mind for something in a certain way. So this is how it is done. So emotional regulation or emotional management is all about this. We can train our brain in a certain way so that it doesn't lose patience. It is prepared for such situations. Okay, what can we do? Can we avoid difficult people? We cannot all the time. Imagine your boss is a very difficult people. What are you going to do? Leave your job? Fine, you leave your job and take another job. The new boss is even more difficult. Then what do? You leave that job to come back to the older boss who is less difficult? You can't do it. So better you learn how to manage your emotions, how to handle difficult people. That will make your life easier. So this is a skill set that can be cultivated in us. So self-management is all about that. It's all about, managing emotions and behavior to achieve certain goals. And then at the same time, it will lead to social awareness. We have to be socially aware of certain things. For example, that will improve our interpersonal relationships. There are a lot of people these days, especially the younger ones, psychologists have been studying this phenomenon. The young people, especially those young men and women who are corporate employees, who work in the corporate sector, they spend long hours in the office on their work. And then when they come back, they do not want to go out and meet people. They meet people virtually through the messaging platforms or through any other social media platforms. Fine. Earlier there was an option for these people to go out, a reason, not just an option. There was a reason for these people to go out and, in that process, meet somebody, say hi or hello to somebody, smile at somebody, speak a few words. But that option has also been taken away by the quick delivery platforms like Instamart, Blinkit, Zepto, Dunzo, and a variety of others. So they have stopped. For example, now they don't want to go out. Even to buy milk, they place the order using Instamart or Blinkit or Zepto. So within 10 to 15 minutes, those products are delivered to you at your home. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go out. But then that's interfering severely with the social skills of these people, because they don't meet people. They do not go out. So that's the problem. So this social competence or awareness can also be enhanced when we develop certain or we build certain skill sets in us. Once our social awareness improves, the relationship skills will also improve. Or, positive relationships, working in team, dealing effectively with conflict. So these are some of the skills that we acquire when our relationship skills are improved. And then responsible decision making. Responsible decision making. Whenever I do something, what kind of results does it produce? I need to be very, very careful about it. So when I eat something, when I drink something, when I watch something on television or on my PC, when I use my mobile phone, so what kind of problems it might lead to? So I need to understand. So this responsible decision making has to do with the kind of choices, the needs that we create for ourselves. Fine. So that is the thing. So we have to give ourselves or others the skill edge so that we can survive well in the skill age. I talked about it, self-awareness yesterday, if you can recall the ocean model. Just a recap, the ocean model, or the big 5 personality traits that we all have according to this model. There is openness. There are some people who are very, very open. They're flexible, adaptive. Okay. And then very curious people, very insightful. You give them a situation, they'll develop an insight into it. They'll tell you what this situation is all about. And they can also predict what can happen. And most often they are correct because they are quick to build or develop insights into certain things. Okay, I'll give you an example of that. For example, you take your malfunctioned scooter or motorcycle to a mechanic. All right. The mechanic, within 5 to 10 minutes, if the mechanic is a good mechanic, within 5 to 10 minutes, the mechanic will be able to tell you where the problem lies. Oh, this is the problem. Okay, so how quickly they build insight. Similarly, when we develop this skill, we can also build insights into various situations or conditions around us. Originality and curiosity, they're very, very original people. Those people who who have this personality trait are very original in their thoughts, in their thinking, in their actions as well. Very original. They love originality. Okay. Researchers, for example, they love originality. Reviewers, they love originality. Examiners, they love originality. And curiosity, of course. They're very, very curious. They're not scared of discovering something new, going an extra mile to know more about something. They're very curious. Okay. So this openness is very, very important. How open you can be. I just spoke to one of our friends on board. Did I speak to you, Dr. Tabassum, about the MOOC?
Yes, sir.
Did I speak to you about MOOC?
Yes, sir. We have discussed in lecture.
Yeah, that's it. So, you can stretch your curiosity beyond the initial discovery. Okay, there is something called MOOC. Now, it is your responsibility to stretch it further. What is a MOOC and why is it so popular? Is it popular, unpopular? It is useful, useless? So you can learn a lot of things about MOOC, and once you're aware of it, you can pass on this information to your friends. This applies to all of us, in fact, including me. So the initial discovery of some information should not be the end of it. I must go beyond it and try to discover more things about it. That way, I'll understand it better. I can also help somebody else understand it as well. So that is the whole idea. Okay, so it's openness, curiosity, right? Conscientiousness, ambition, discipline, consistency, and reliability. If you have these personality traits in you, then you know that you have conscientious personality type. Ambition, discipline, consistency, and reliability. Okay. Third, extraversion or extroversion. If you have this personality trait, you don't mind going out, you have a lot of energy and very confident of yourself and what you do. And then we have agreeableness, another personality type or trait. Okay, agreeableness, that means agreeable people. So they're very tactful people. They handle situations tactfully. Okay, and they are full of kindness and loyal people. They're very loyal people. They agree. They don't generally disagree. So if your friend, if your student never says no to you or never shows disagreement, then you know that that person has an agreeable personality type. It's agreeableness. And finally, neuroticism. Neurotic people are very, very pessimistic. You tell them everything, they'll still say, oh, there is not this thing. They'll never focus on the good things, the brighter things. They'll always focus on the darker, the gloomy, the bleaker things. And they'll always find fault with the system. Okay. And such people experience a lot of anxiety, sense of insecurity, and very, very fearful, such people, because they're neurotic people. Okay, very fearful. For example, if a neurotic people becomes the head of the department, that person will end up asking everyone in the world what others think about him, because such a person is always in a state of fear and anxiety. Okay, so this is how we can also improve our self-awareness by using this model, the ocean model, or the big 5 personality trait. This is an important thing. If you remember, I've been talking about these things: beliefs, values, attitudes, and behaviors. What we generally find on the surface is this. All right. And these things generally lie hidden. This is the thing that is completely hidden. This thing is partially, these 2 things are partially hidden. That means we'll get some glimpse or glimpses of these 2 things, but it's very difficult to get a glimpse of this thing unless you spend a lot of time with such a person. You cannot dig deeper into the belief system of that person. But then On the surface, we generally see behaviors, and we think, and we begin to judge a person as either good or bad based on one's behavior. But then the right thing to do is to judge the behavior of a person, or judge a person not on the basis of one's behaviors, but also to dig a little deeper and go to the belief system, reach here, the belief system. What is the belief system of this person? Okay. So otherwise the belief system is called the worldview. How do I view this world that I live in? So for example, if my belief system has a certain dimension, it will result in a certain value system, and that value system will lead to some kind of attitudes, and then that attitude will lead to some kind of behavior. So it is very, very important that we understand the belief system, not just the belief system, attitudes, values, and go down to the belief system of somebody. And when this happens, for example, if your boss is always angry, you may have to dig a little deeper to understand the belief system of that person. Okay, the belief system. And then you can understand the values, or the reverse way, that is, you can try to understand the attitude. Okay, attitude of that person. How do I look at a certain group of people? How do I look at a certain set of things? How do I look at a certain skill set? What is my attitude towards those things? Okay, and then the values can be discovered. The values actually constitute our attitude or make our attitudes, and then the beliefs. What is my worldview? Okay, so for example, if my belief system says me or tells me that at the end of it, truth will triumph. Okay, that means I will value resilience. I'll value honesty. Okay, and my attitude will be one of resilience, one of optimism, one of patience, and my behavior will be one of wait and watch. It is not over yet. So it all starts from the belief. If I believe that, okay, this world is not a bad place, at the end, the good will win over the evil. So if I believe in this particular thing, if this constitutes my belief system, then my values will be like that. I'll value certain things. I'll always value goodness. They may fail, they may suffer, I'll still value goodness. Okay. And then that will be my attitude. My attitude will be like, will be one of those things that will not wilter under pressure. It will always stand upright. Fine, it's okay. I have a bad time, bad phase now. It will also go, not a problem. So my behavior, I'll not lose hope. I'll not lose faith. That will be my behavior. And I'll not be disturbed by, negative attitudes, negative behaviors, punitive behaviors. I'll not be disturbed. So it's very, very important that we understand the entire system. We develop a holistic approach to this system so that we can think of building some real life skill sets to understand others well. And this will enhance our interpersonal relationships with others. Okay. Now, look at this. Is this visible to you? Please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're getting to see a lot of things, isn't it? So life skills, targeting life skills. And there are 4 components. Can you read those components? These are the 4 components.
Heart, hands, head, and health.
Yes, thank you. Heart, hands, head, and health. So if we have to understand the life skills well, we have to divide them into 4 important components. Each of these components is equally important. Fine, let's take a look at each of these components one by one. Let's first start with the head skills. So when we are talking about building skills in ourselves and in people around us, when we are talking about integrating skills into our curriculum, our pedagogical practices, our research, our academic, activities, it's very important that we understand the role of each of these 4 components. The first is the head component. What is the function of the head, right? The head is the rational center, right? Managing and thinking. These are the 2 most important functions of the head. So we need to build certain head skills. Managing means resiliency. I just told you that if somebody has a resilient belief system, the person's behavior will be one of resilience. So it's very important that we understand there's a resilient belief system. Okay. So resiliency. Managing means keeping records. They're very systematically, they manage their lives. Such people, they're very systematic in their approach. And wise use of resources, because we know if we have to manage it well. Wise use of resources so that we do not exhaust the resources when we need them the most. So we need to keep them in the reserve. Okay, so it's all about management. You might have, heard about the ant and the grasshopper story. Have you heard about the ant and the grasshopper story? Anyone? How just before the beginning of the rainy season, the ants were busy collecting or gathering food. And that was a time when the grasshopper was very busy dancing, singing around, making merry, and having fun, enjoying. And then one fine day, the grasshopper asked one of the ants, "Are you stupid people? You always work, you never enjoy. Why do you carry the food all the time to your places?" The ant replied, "We are collecting food for the rainy season." The grasshopper said, "Okay, fine, it's not a problem for me. I'll collect the food whenever I want, it's not a problem." So the rainy season arrived, and the grasshopper had not gathered or collected any food. It could not go out. It rained heavily. And that's exactly when the ants had already gathered sufficient food for themselves to survive the rainy season, and they did not have any problem. So this grasshopper, one day, hungry and devastated, dejected, went to the ants' place and begged for some food. They, of course, gave him. So there's a story, there's an anecdote or anecdotal story that tells us that we need to manage our resources very, very well. Wise use of resources. Planning, organizing, these are the 2 important things that are associated with head skills. And goal setting, all managing skills under head skills. And then thinking skills, service learning, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, learning to learn, right? So these are the thinking skills we need to build in ourselves if we have to be skill sufficient. Okay, so this skill competency or skill sufficiency can be attained when we build these head skills. Similarly, we have certain heart skills. Again, 2 components, caring and relating. So how do we relate to people? Through communication. So we need to be good at communication. It's not that communication is always a one-sided thing for you. It has to be a 2-sided affair. So while communicating, we need to take into account the perspective of the other person. And that's exactly when real communication, meaningful communication can happen. Cooperation, collaboration, I've been talking about cooperation or collaboration. Social skills, I just talked about how our younger generation, our younger friends, they are fast losing their social skills. Conflict resolution and accepting differences. Our fingerprints are different. So this is a proof that we are very, very different. We think about things differently, and we need to accept that difference. If I say that, why, I generally come across this interesting experience. Do you have, some of you may have, some others are young enough now. Do you have children, kids, school-going children? You can post in the chat box, 1 or 2. School-going children, do you have anyone who has school-going children? You can quickly post in the chat box, yes or no. I'm still not getting any response in the chat box. School-going children, do you have? Okay, no, one no. Anyone who has school-going children?
Sir, I have a daughter.
Okay, fine. So there may be others. Okay, we'll join the school in April, fine. So you might have, come across this experience. When younger children go to school, say they are given notes by their class teachers. For example, either class teachers or subject teachers, they teach certain subjects and they give these children notes, right? The children take their notes and come back and prepare those notes. So student A takes the same notes, student B, student C, student D, student Z, they all take the same notes, right? They all go home. When it is exam time, they all come back and all of them write the same answer. It all depends on who has mugged up the answers well or better than others. That person gets the highest score. And coincidentally, if a student misses some important information in the notes given by the teacher will definitely, deduct marks for that. No, you've not written that word. I mentioned that word. You have not mentioned that word. Therefore, I am deducting half or 1 mark. Fine. Now, the problem with this particular system is that we do not respect the differences. Despite knowing the fact that we are different from each other. If 5 of us are given the same problem, we'll think of the problem differently because we are different people. We adopt different approaches to understanding or to understand things. Now, most schools they just ignore this, and thereby they create people who are not different. Imagine when a class teacher says, no, I gave you those notes, you're not used all the words from the notes, therefore I'll not give you full mark. That means I do not accept the differences. So this is a problem. And it will lead to the creation of like-minded people, people who think alike. Imagine a society that thinks in the same manner about a problem. And if all these people who think in the same manner do not find a solution to that problem, then how that problem can be solved? That is a question. Okay. There must be somebody who thinks differently about the problem, and that might give a solution. There may be more than one person who think differently about the problem that can give more options to solve the problem. This This is the benefit of accepting differences. So when we have hard skills, we begin to accept differences. And caring, concern for others, empathy. Empathy, you understand what is empathy? Nurturing relationships, not just forming relationships, but nurturing them. Empathy, do you understand? What is empathy? Because some of you also wrote in the chat box empathy. Anyone who can talk about empathy?
Yes, sir. Empathy is the way we consider other people's thinkings and their belief systems and their behaviors are valid too.
Okay,
And we
fine.
respect the opinions and emotions of others.
Empathy is otherwise called perspective taking. When we begin to think from the perspective of others, that means we are practicing empathy. Okay. So instead of looking at things or judging things from our perspective, we also take into account the perspectives of others before understanding or judging something. Okay. So there are three types of empathy. One is affective empathy. Okay. Affective empathy. The other is, yes, cognitive empathy. And the third is compassionate. Please ignore the typographical errors if you find any. So affective empathy, for example, feeling the feeling. So if you feel the feeling of somebody, you are experiencing affective empathy, or you're showing affective empathy. Cognitive empathy, when you understand the feeling, you feel the feeling plus understand the feeling of somebody. The whyness, why is the person so sad? The person is sad, that makes me feel sad. Affective empathy. The person is sad, it makes me feel sad. Affective empathy. Then why is the person sad? What is making the person feel sad? Cognitive empathy. Then third is compassionate empathy. The person is sad, I also feel the same sadness. I understand his sadness or her sadness, and I want to do something for the person. I want to help. Compassionate empathy. So empathy has three varieties or types. Okay, so it's important that we understand this, and then we come to the third important component: the hands. These hands are very, very powerful. That's the reason why Gabbar asked Thakur to give him his hands. Ye haath mujhe de de Thakur. That's the reason, probably. These hands are very, very important. So with these hands, we can go for some giving skills and some working skills. Okay. So teamwork, self-motivation, marketable skills. Okay. And then giving means community service, leadership, responsible citizenship, contributions to group effort. So giving is all about, taking into consideration the interest of the group and keeping the group interest above the individual interest. So that is all about giving. For example, I'll give you an example of that. So you might have heard about how the alumni community donates. They give heavy funding to institutions. Have you heard about it? Are you aware of it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So sometime back, Nandan Nilekani, and are you familiar with the name? Nandan Nilekani?
Yes.
The person behind Aadhaar revolution.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Nandan Nilekani donated 500 crores to IIT Bombay, his alma mater. Okay, 500 crores. We have a lot of such donors. They donate in the volume of 15 crores, 20 crores, 30 crores. All right. So why do you think they donate? It's giving back to your alma mater. Similarly, we give back to our society, our community, our people. All right, we give back because they give us a lot of things. The society gave us a lot of things. Our institution gave us a lot of things. So giving means it is an act of gratitude. So gratitude is an important skill. It's a very important skill, gratitude. Those who practice gratitude, they become very, very good at relationship skills, especially interpersonal relationship. They're very good at those skills. Gratitude. If somebody ever helped you, take time to thank the person. That is it. That's gratitude. So it's important. So that's an important, skill, hand skill. So giving. And then finally, health skills. Now, this is a very important skill set, health skill, because most people do not take care of themselves. And that's probably one big reason why the world is now celebrating the World Self-Care Day. Are you aware of it? The World Self-Care Day? Are you aware of it?
No.
No. Okay. The World Self-Care Day. See, 24 July, not World, it's International Self-Care Day. 24 July. Okay. So why is it celebrated? Is my Google search visible to you?
Yes.
Yes. You can see why is it celebrated. This day is celebrated annually to raise awareness about the importance of self-care. There's a problem. Since there is a problem, now the world has woken up to address this problem. There's become a global and international movement now. Everyone wants to value self-care. Now, this is exactly what we mean by this life skill. This is an important life skill. Health skills. So living and being. So being means our being, all right? So the inner self. So that values self-esteem, every one of us. Self-responsibility, character, managing feelings, and self-discipline. Very important skills. Managing feelings. How do I manage my feelings? If I don't manage my feelings, my being, my existence will be severely challenged. It will be unstable. If I do not show responsibility for myself, I generally, whenever I walk into my class every semester, whenever I meet a new batch, and I walk into the class to meet my new batch every semester, I generally ask them this question. My first ever question. Do you love yourself? That's the question. And obviously, as expected, most of them say, yes, I love myself. Now, my second question, what have you done for yourself? Take a piece of paper or use your notebook to write down the 5 important things you have done for yourself. And then most people find it difficult to note down the 5 things they have done for themselves. Okay, so because when we love somebody, we would like to do things for that person. Similarly, when we love ourselves, we have to do things for ourselves. So managing feelings, self-responsibility, taking care of ourselves, self-care, self-discipline, all these things, they are very closely associated with our existence. If we do not take care of those things, we are bound to experience existential crisis. So we have to develop these skills so that we can do them well. And then living. Being is all about existence, but living is all about how we carry that existence, how we stretch that existence. So it is all about healthy lifestyle choices, because if we keep unwell all the time, we cannot be happy, simple. We cannot be professionally successful. Stress management, disease prevention, and personal safety. All these things matter a lot when it comes to health skills. Under health skills, we have living skills and we have being skills. Fine. So it's important that we understand these skills well. And when we understand these skills well, it'll be easier for us to manage ourselves very, very well. Now, I'll quickly show you a few things which, will help you understand this particular thing. So this is called a stroke profile. Okay. So, this stroke profile, it was again based on Eric Burns' theory of transactional analysis. So this is strokes. Okay. You can see there is something called positive conditional. This one. It's positive conditional. Just a moment. Yeah. So you can see this is positive conditional. And then you have something called positive unconditional. Then you have negative conditional and negative unconditional, right? Now, why is this important? What is your stroke profile? Is it positive conditional, still positive conditional, or positive unconditional? The whole idea is to move from positive conditional to positive unconditional, or from negative conditional to positive unconditional. Because negative unconditional is something that nobody should ever want. What it is, let me briefly explain that to you. Stroke profile is a unit of recognition that we receive for doing something or for being somebody. So it may happen that if I ask you about somebody by just telling you the name, all you have to do is to tell me something about that person. Fine? Sachin Tendulkar. Yes, one of you can volunteer. Yes, any response? Let's have a quick response. Sachin Tendulkar, am I audible? Any one of you can volunteer. You can unmute and speak. No ideas. Okay, fine. Let me explain that to you. The moment we hear Sachin Tendulkar's name, we mention, okay, great Indian cricketer or cricket legend. Fine. Is Sachin Tendulkar playing cricket now? Not playing cricket. But we still give him that recognition. Because Sachin Tendulkar has moved from positive conditional to positive unconditional. So when we move to the positive unconditional stroke profile, we are recognized for what we are. Sometimes, our students say, oh, very, very good teacher, very nice, very great teacher, or a very bad teacher. Okay, these are positive, conditions. Conditional for being somebody, or unconditional for being somebody. So stroke profile is very, very important if we have to build these skills. We need to understand how they work. So you give me one task, I do it properly and in time. You give me a positive conditional stroke because it is dependent on one condition. That is, I did it timely. But you give me tasks every week, I do it timely and properly. Thereafter, you'll develop some belief in me, some faith, some trust in me. Okay, and then you'll say that if I fail to submit my task timely, maybe at a later stage, you'll still say, no, this person has been very, very good, very punctual. There may be some problem this time. This is how we, understand, we relate to people. So when we build this positive unconditional stroke profile, then we develop authenticity about ourselves. This is an important skill, remember. For example, if a teacher always says something wrong in the class, the teacher will never build any positive unconditional profile. The teacher will always build negative unconditional profile. After some time, the people will not trust. The way I told you today that ChatGPT gives you fake information on 50% occasions. Now we'll begin to doubt the integrity of ChatGPT. So this will create a negative conditional or unconditional situation for or profile for ChatGPT. So this is how it is done. Okay. Fine. So fine, that is all for this session for today. All right. So I'm through. If you have any queries or questions, I'll be happy to take them. We can take another 5 to 10 minutes. Since we started a little late today, we can take a maximum 10 minutes for it to know your comments, your experience, your understanding, your suggestions. All right, it's open to you now. Right.
So thank you for those, wonderful lecture. I have just one request. Can you please share the PPT or the links that you have so that we can further delve
Yes, definitely. I will
go through these things.
Yes, I will. Okay. So thank you for that. I'll share the links and of course the PPTs can be shared. Okay. Any other question or queries that you may have?
So I do have one thing to discuss. I think you are the right person and expert to ask. When we are dealing with the new generations, it's really vulnerable now that the willingness quotient is really getting low day by day. So I always thought to know what are the ways that we can induce the empowerment in terms of the willingness quotient in the students, maybe in our families, maybe in the professional settings where the students we are teaching.
Yes, so that's a very interesting. Of course, that's a very interesting question. It's a very tricky question as well because experts are still struggling with this particular question. But then that's very interesting. There may be a few ways. I don't say that these ways are exhaustive. And then you see, it all happens through realization. Okay, so I generally call this Buddha experience. Buddha experience is that, so Buddha would not have been Buddha had he not come across a realization through experience. Fine. So through experience, he came to a realization. So he came across some life-changing, life-altering experiences involving suffering and sadness. And then he was forced to reflect and, realize something. So this realization led to the willingness. So for any willingness to be a driving force in either us or in our students or people around us, there has to be a realization. Okay, so what we can do is we can make people realize the biggest challenge with this is the class size, which is very, very large. When the class size is large, it becomes difficult for people to, get to know each other so well. because you just come, you teach, and then you leave. And the course gets over, and you're not even able to know more than 5 people, 5 students in your class. So that makes it difficult. There are multiple ways. For example, restrained fear, starting with restrained fear. For example, if you tell somebody that, see how fast the world is moving, and in 6 months, you might lose your job. Then the person will suddenly wake up. Why? Why do you think so? Okay, you lose your job because you're not updating. You're not adding new skills to your resume, your profile. So that way you might lose your job. And if you sit like this, in 6 months, a lot of people will move ahead, and they will be snatching your job from you. And so you suddenly become, so because fear generally hits at the loss element. What I can lose if I do not do this. So this can, of course, but then of course, there are other arguments. For example, when people know that smoking can lead to some serious health hazards, they still smoke. They don't mind smoking. Okay, so there's no realization of it. But then realization doesn't necessarily happen through fear. There are multiple other ways. There can be some emotional connection. They can be, because emotional connection plays a very, very important role here. How emotions can drive others and their decision, their belief systems. So there can be an emotional experience. There can be a fear experience. There can be an experience of ambition as well, because if you want to earn more, do this. Okay, so success is one thing that can make this happen. So what I generally do in my class is that I show them certain instances, certain examples from real life, or certain examples from fictitious literature, and then ask them to interact with that particular thing. So that leads to some kind of realization. And then there is something called curiosity. Curiosity doesn't kill the cat. The cat comes back. When the curiosity was satisfied, the cat came back, in fact. So most often we hear about half of the quote, the full quote, curiosity killed the cat. But it also came back once the curiosity was satisfied. So that is the thing. So creating curiosity in people can also make them willing to learn. For example, I keep creating curiosity in me. So I'm very, very curious, and I do not allow that curiosity to go down. So what I do is that curiosity drives me to discover new things, to know more about things, to be willing to learn, to discover. So there are multiple ways. For now, we do not have any fixed model or fixed framework with which we can build the willingness. This comes through our own experiences, based on which we have developed certain insights into these things. So fear works, but restrained fear, because if fear becomes a routine, then people are no more scared of it. Right. So restrained fear, then restrained sadness or suffering, that is loss. Then curiosity helps a lot. And then of course, reflection. So by hitting at people's, they call it the limbic system, okay, in the brain, the limbic system. Right. So we have evolved, but our past experiences, or the experiences of our ancestors in the jungle, they still continue to be part of our existence. So those things can be explored or sometimes exploited to create this willingness in people. People are, gradually it will happen because people show more willingness. research has established this fact that, people gradually adopt it. For example, how advertisers create this willingness. So, despite disliking a piece of advertisement, we still remember it. Okay. Because they flood your brain with the same things time and again. So that leads to some kind of connection as well. So this is how it is being done. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the discussion.
Satsang is a source of realization. Of course, why not? There are multiple ways. As I told you, there are some people who are willing to go for meditation, willing to go for naturopathy. There can be multiple ways to build willingness. But then before somebody goes for naturopathy, there has to be willingness. Or before somebody goes for satsang, you have to have that willingness. Okay, so willingness is a major challenge, right? There are multiple challenges that block willingness. For example, the hugeness of something. Right. There's a very interesting book by Brian Tracy. The title of the book is "Eat That Frog." It's a very interesting book. It's by Brian Tracy. There may be some spelling errors, so please correct. Eat That Frog. Okay. So this book is all about how to overcome procrastination, delay in action. Because most people avoid action because they are overwhelmed by the hugeness of a task. That's the reason why they don't show any willingness. Okay, so that is it. Any other queries or questions? Fine. If you do not have any other queries or questions, we can call it a day now. So thank you, all of you, for being there. Thank you for your time on these 2 days. In fact, yesterday and today, since these two topics, these two themes are very closely connected, I sort of going for them back to back on 2 days. Okay, on back-to-back days rather. So thank you very much, all of you. It was a pleasure interacting with you, although you prefer to hide more than be visible and to interact. But then this is a friendly advice to all of you that it actually pays when you come out. You allow yourself to engage, to interact. That helps a lot. So you can practice. This is a skill, in fact. Engaging, interacting is a skill. So you can build this skill, and this is one reason why I had to switch to the talk mode rather than the interaction mode. I wanted it to be very, very interactive, so that I speak half of the time and you speak for the rest of the time. Anyway, that couldn't happen, but then this is not the end of it. All right, we can start somewhere. So thank you very much. Thank you again for your time, and keep learning, keep reinventing yourselves. That helps a lot. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye. I'm ending this session for all of us. Okay, thank you.